Thank you, Joe. Good afternoon, everybody. I was going to stand up here and wear a black turtleneck for a new product launch. It seems to be how people do it, but apparently I don't look good in tight black. So my next idea was to sit here and read you the release notes for eVo. But that's probably not a good idea either, because they're very interesting, but probably not a great presentation. So I thought we'd actually start by not talking about eVo at all and actually talking about where we are with the current product. Because today we're actually releasing, or we will release, 2.15.17 of the current Formate product. This offers Windows 2012 server support and Windows 8.1, Windows 8, Windows 8.1. There are a couple of other service releases in it, a couple of small minor issue fixes. So that will be released for live update from the end of the week, possibly before, possibly tomorrow. It depends whether we can get it up on the website or not. And just the other point I'd like to talk about Formate. You can tell I'm not Steve Jobs and can't do PowerPoint. Sorry about that. Just to point everybody at our tech blog. We actually do run a tech blog that covers all the product streams that we do. It's got release information, 2.15.17 release will go up there tonight. But it's also got hints and tips and things that we learn, things that other customers ask us, and we put answers up there. It's not an interactive forum particularly, we just put useful information up there. There's links through to white papers when we write them. Recently we wrote a paper about the user permissions you need when installing InfoRouter if you want to be on a centrally controlled SQL server. So there's some good stuff up there, so I just commend that to you in the first place. And really that brings us on to eVo. And there it is. It's exciting, isn't it? Well, it is actually for us. This is 21st century. This is where we want to be. Hopefully where some of you will want to be. Certainly where customers going forward will want to be. That is the equivalent of the event log in the current Formate product. And, it's a system. The philosophy is the same as Formate. It's about producing output. It's about restructuring data to get the output you want. But that does show you various things going on, jobs going through. Shows you that it works. So coming back to the presentation, we will now move on to eVo, the new product. This is the public launch. You are the first members of the public, or the user base, or whatever, to see. So you're a privileged set of people on the planet today. You may not feel it, but you... And what we're hoping to do here is to show you the potential that this product brings. We're not going to try and show you the release notes and what every line does and what every feature is. But we are going to try and show you some of the things that it will bring and some of the reasons behind that. As Joe said, it's a new product. It is 100% new. It shares a philosophy, but it's new. It is completely built using Microsoft.NET. Now, that may not be of particular interest to anybody, but it does mean that the sky is the limit of what can be done and where it can go. It's 64-bit. It's just a fact about it. I had to try and come up with some sort of marketing line, and it really does make enterprise technologies available. And when Joe covers the commercials, you'll probably understand that slightly more than it makes sense now. What is eVo? eVo is an engine to do, as I say, to convert data from one form into an output form. eVo's main work engine runs as a service and is called the Task Dispatcher service. That is the engine that is going to sit there and do the grunt work day in, day out. The Task Dispatcher service talks to the Configuration Manager service. The Configuration Manager service holds the programming, holds the form types, holds the tasks, tells the Task Dispatcher what to do when it sees some data. And those two services talk to each other. You then have the dashboard, which is the item that I had running a few moments ago, which is the admin console for the eVo architecture. Those of you that are familiar with Formate would see that previously we had the Formate server and we had Formate configuration that encompassed these roles, but not quite as discreetly as we have them here. So the classic model is you can have it all on one server and pretty much replicate how many Formate servers run. But where the new product offers the exciting possibilities is the nature of the distributed model that we can now employ. You can have dashboard on one machine, on your desktop, and it can talk securely to the services on another machine. And you'll notice there's a small note that says secured comms. We can go TCP, which we do on a network, HTTP if you're on different sites, so you can tunnel through using a HTTP protocol, or you've got name pipes if you're all on the same machine. Well, that's nice, but it's not particularly special. But you could have Configuration Manager on another machine separately, and that could talk to the Task Dispatcher service on another server. Well, again, that's nice, but why would you have it all on separate machines? But then you can do that, and you can have one set of forms rolled out across multiple servers. And you can have one configuration, one control point. If you have multiple sites, this architecture starts to become incredibly useful. Each individual Task Dispatcher element of eVo is multi-threaded. The big thing that brings for us is non-sequential processing of jobs. You put 10,000 invoices through one stream, a delivery note won't wait, it will come through and be processed, interspersed with those to go out to another machine. So there's non-sequential processing of jobs. Multi-threading in itself is not new, it's not particularly special. The take we have on it here though is you can actually manually control what thread allocations there are to different tasks. This actually means that you can actually target your horsepower where you want to use it. And we have a situation here where we have the threads that can be allocated to a given task, which servers they can run on, And here we have a thing called a work exclusivity key, which actually enables you to control that a task with this exclusivity key, two can't run at once. So you can actually control also the sequence where multi-threaded jobs run. That's the architecture, and as I say, I'm sure it, you know, to some people it sparks interest, to other people it's under the bonnet, and that's how Formate works, and that's our problem maybe. But it's to show that this product introduced a lot of potential. Now really it's a question of talking about the features that eVo as a product brings that we may wish to make use of. One of the features of eVo is that we can introduce signing and encryption of PDFs and emails. This is something that going forward is more likely to become important. It's also a case that in parts of Europe it's already more important than it is here. So this offers a route to expansion across different areas of the world. That's very small. This is the small print. You actually need a third-party certificate because we're leveraging standard security certificates for the signing and encryption. You can set the security parameters for the PDF. You can limit printing, saving, those sorts of things. So again, you can secure the PDF additionally. That leads into the realm of international support. And we don't mean a help desk in all different countries. What we mean is the fact that eVo's very core, because it's .NET, because of the way it's been coded, offers Unicode support. So we move from a situation where we've been predominantly working with a Western European character set with Formate, and with eVo we have access to the character sets from around the world. That multicultural aspect of it allows us to do national localizations. By national localizations, we're talking about setting it to be US English or German, and therefore reflecting the date formats, the currency formats, the number formats that, you know, are available to us under the Windows operating system. We can also do national code page support for non-Unicode languages. And this is just part of the list within eVo of the different code pages and items that you can select. How this is introduced. eVo has an idea of cultures. Every piece of data has a culture associated with it. And by culture I mean, is it an English piece of data? Is it a Turkish piece of data? Is it an American piece of data? Is it a German piece of data? And we can set that culture at the input level, the processing level, and the output level. So you can take in a date that may be in a German format. eVo now knows that that's a date and that it's in the German format, and when I want to output it I can just say give me that date as an English format or a currency or a what have you. Again, if your trade is predominantly in the UK, not such a big deal, but if you trade with Europe, trade with the rest of the world, it opens up interesting possibilities for how you can manipulate data and what jobs you can do, all within the same execution. And to that end we also have things like international barcodes. So at the top there, which probably may be a little bit difficult to see, but There's the Australian Post Domestic e-parcel barcode, which I'm sure we all use frequently. But again, if you have an Australian subsidiary or you have an Australian partner, some of these things are now available to you where they weren't. Security. Formate eVo, if you wish it to, allows you to have user and permission levels associated with the actual program itself. This means that you can have some people that do form development, you have some people that do server configuration, you have some people that do admin. They don't all have to be the same person. They don't all have to have the same permissions and rights. Again, everything on one server in your computer room, again, not such a big deal. But once you start talking about having a distributed model of servers in different places, this needs to go hand in hand with it. Email support. Formate emails, receives emails. eVo takes it to the next level. It will talk to Exchange Web Services, the de facto standard for Microsoft going forward. It will also talk to all the standard protocols, but offers much more flexibility than the Formate product. We can use secure protocols, we can use different ports, all the things that, you know, we need to do in today's world when considering email. We can also have multiple email channels, and we can use them as we see fit. So not everything has to go down a POP3 channel or come in through a POP3 channel. You can have one job comes in from one web server, an Exchange Web Services Exchange server, something else comes in on POP3, something goes out IMAP, or you can do lots of things. Because eVo is multi-threaded, all emailing is actually a separate discrete thread that runs in the background. So we are taking the load of emailing out of the actual form type, out of the actual data conversion and the execution, and treating it as an independent thread for the delivery of emails after the processing. We will be able to apply a HTML body to the email. The marketing department can finally get the email that they've been dreaming about for the last couple of years. And we've mentioned signing and encryption. We can apply that to email. This is a very short slide, you'll be glad to know. Database connectivity, it's much more flexible. That's for those people familiar with Formate, we have a completely new layout editor in eVo. And after the event, we're more than happy to show people the software, show these items in detail. That's a screenshot of the new editor. We've moved some productivity tools to the top here to allow snap. Anybody familiar with Formate will be slightly surprised to see that. You've now got rotated text, and we sit there going round and round in circles. It's really fun. Small things please us techies, you know. Oh, and the other thing that I got excited about, and it just shows what a limited life I do have, rounded corners to boxes, but only some of them, not all of them. So you now, independent corners can be changed. So there's the new layout editor, features rotation and corners. There are over 100 barcodes. I gave up counting at 100. Don't ask me what they all do. There's lots. All this adds up to productivity enhancements. You can deliver more of what your customers are asking for, whether it be the marketing department or the people who design the invoices or what have you. Coupled with a new way of working with forms, we now have the ability to have form type sets and revisions. Again, something that helps greatly. This is a form type set. A form type set consists of form types. These are all versions of the same form type, but as I change them and develop them, I can create new revisions. And I can set which is the active revision. So contrary to where we've been in the past, we can make a change to a form, we can promote it to active, deploy it to lots of servers all from the dashboard. We can roll back if we want to, if somebody suddenly decides they don't like that logo, by just switching back to a previous version of the form. It's a very nice feature and will make life simpler in many cases. Again, it's a productivity enhancement. Most people who do any work with Formate, as is, will be familiar with the concept of the events within Formate. We have an event when the spool file arrives, or the timer fires, but in this case we'll say when the spool file arrives. The spool file gets split into individual jobs. Jobs have individual numbers of pages, so we have an event when the spool file arrives, we have an event for each job, and we have an event for each page within each job. We now have two new events, the first of which is a prep script. This is triggered by the arrival of a file, but before we open it. It means you can do a number of things now in one form type, where perhaps in Formate you are using multiple formates and passing data from one job to another. We also have a cleanup event. Currently with Formate, processing finishes, printing starts, PDF creation, emailing, job done. With eVo, we then get another script to run after all those activities have taken place. This means that we can move files around, we can create audit scripts, we can do all sorts of things that we would have had to have done in a separate form type before. I've tried to keep this fairly short. In the scripting world, we have access to a lot of the properties of form types and the system that you didn't have access to before. You can change lots of things on the fly if you wish to. We've got the ability to built-in compression now, so we can make output, we can pre-compress it into zip. We have rich formatting of text strings, so you can now have one text string with multiple fonts, multiple colours, multiple sizes, all in one piece of text, where before maybe you had to make that up by taking separate pieces of text and trying to position them on the form. This is the one that I've been dreading. I think I can say ephemeral. Yeah, no, I can. Ephemeral text. Ephemeral text it doesn't exist. We can make a piece of text appear out of thin air. In Formate, a text object has to exist that you fill with data. Here we can actually just make it on the fly, which Sounds not very exciting, but actually does open up a lot of possibilities. We can offer enhanced printer control. We've got the ability to control stapling and other features of the printer that we didn't have before. We also have match and capture from regular expressions. So you can now leverage regular expressions to validate data, capture parts of strings, etc. This is for the true techies amongst you. They are just some of the additional features of the scripting language. The scripting language will be familiar to anybody that's done Formate. It is the same root in terms of the syntax of the language. These are just some enhancements and some things that people have asked for, just to make the coding slightly nicer. I've tried to give a flavour of what's new in eVo. It is sometimes a little bit difficult to convey excitement about a data processing system. Hopefully I've at least given a flavour of what is in eVo, and some of you may be thinking there that there are things there that I could use, and that's what we've hoped to achieve in this. You will get more information over the coming months as we ramp up and look for beta partners, as we look to release the information. We're starting to develop the training now, so that by the beginning of next year we will be in a position to deliver this. Oh, I forgot one. Literal typing. I'll explain that to anybody that's interested later. So thank you for paying attention. I'm sorry that I've probably droned on. I haven't lived it as much as the developers have, but we've lived with this for some time now, and we are very pleased to be able to get it out in front of you guys and show people what work has been going on, and hopefully identify the potential of where this can take us. Thank you.